The employees of Statham Holdings shared many stories about Levi Statham. Some claimed she fired a vice president during a meeting without raising her voice. Others swore she once made an entire department redo 6 months of work because of a single overlooked detail. Whatever the stories were, everyone agreed on one thing: Levi Statham was terrifying. At exactly 7 in the morning, the black luxury sedan stopped in front of the company's headquarters in Manhattan. The security guards immediately straightened. Employees entering the building quickly stepped aside. Levi emerged from the car wearing a perfectly tailored black suit. Her sharp jawline and cold grey eyes gave her the appearance of someone carved from ice. She acknowledged no one. Her heels clicked against the marble floor as she entered the building. Meanwhile, on the 23rd floor, Trish Davis was having the worst morning of her life. Her alarm had failed, the subway had stalled, and she had spilled coffee on her white blouse. Today was her first day. "Perfect," she muttered. She hurried toward the elevators while clutching her laptop bag. Unfortunately, fate had one more surprise waiting. The elevator doors opened. Without looking up, Trish rushed inside and collided directly with someone. Her coffee flew, the cup emptied. Dark liquid splashed across an expensive black suit. Silence. Complete silence. The entire elevator froze. Trish looked up and nearly died. Standing before her was Levi Statham, the CEO, the woman everyone feared. Coffee slowly dripped from Levi's jacket. No one dared breathe. One employee visibly paled. Another looked ready to resign immediately. "Oh my God," Trish whispered. Levi stared at her. For one horrifying second, Trish thought security would drag her away. Instead, Levi simply asked, "Are you finished?" Trish blinked. "What?" "The coffee." Trish looked at the empty cup. "Yes," Levi nodded. "Good." Then she stepped around her and exited the elevator. Just like that, the doors closed. Everyone inside released their breaths simultaneously. "You survived," someone whispered. "I thought she was going to fire you." So did I. Trish wasn't convinced. She was absolutely certain her career had ended before it began. Later that morning, Trish learned she would be working directly under the executive department, which meant frequent meetings with Levi. Wonderful. Just wonderful. As she sat in the conference room, nervous sweat forming on her palms, the doors opened. Levi entered. Instantly the room became silent. Trish tried not to stare, but seeing Levi up close was different. The CEO possessed a quiet confidence that dominated every room she entered. She didn't need to raise her voice. People simply listened. Levi began discussing project projections. Her analysis was brilliant, precise, calculated. Trish found herself unexpectedly impressed. Halfway through the meeting, Levi suddenly asked, "Miss Davis?" Trish nearly jumped. "Yes?" "Page 17. Trish looked down, then realized there was an error in one of the financial estimates. No one else had noticed. Levi had. Trish quickly reviewed the numbers. After several seconds, she spoke. "The estimate is incorrect." The room turned toward her. "It should be reduced by 2.8 million. Levi studied her. A long silence followed. Then Levi nodded. "Correct." The meeting continued, but something had changed. For the first time, Levi seemed interested. Over the following weeks, Trish earned a reputation for being one of the most capable employees in the company. She worked late, solved difficult problems, never complained. Levi noticed, though she never admitted it. One evening, nearly everyone had gone home. Only a few lights remained on. As Levi walked through the office, she noticed Trish still working. The younger woman was asleep at her desk. A half-finished report rested beneath her cheek. Levi paused. She should have walked away. Instead, she quietly removed her own blazer, then draped it over Trish's shoulders. The sleeping employee stirred slightly but didn't wake. Levi stood there longer than she should have, watching. Something unfamiliar tugged at her chest, a feeling she hadn't experienced in years. Before she could examine it, she turned away and left. The next morning, Trish woke to discover a designer blazer covering her. Everyone knew who it belonged to. The entire office nearly exploded with curiosity. Yet Levi acted as if nothing had happened, and somehow that made Trish even more confused because for a brief moment, the coldest woman in New York had shown kindness. And Trish couldn't stop thinking about it. Neither could Levi. The following Monday, Trish Davis arrived at Statham Holdings determined to focus on work, nothing else. Not the mysterious blazer, not the whispers spreading throughout the office. And definitely not Levi Statham. Unfortunately, the universe seemed determined to make that impossible. The moment Trish entered the office floor, she noticed several co-workers staring at her. Some smiled knowingly. Others whispered behind their desks. One of her teammates, Amanda, immediately rushed over. "Tell me everything," Trish frowned. "About what?" Amanda looked horrified. "About the blazer." Trish groaned. "It means nothing." It was Levi Statham's blazer. It was cold. The CEO owns 3 penthouses. She could have called building maintenance to adjust the temperature. Trish rubbed her forehead. Amanda lowered her voice dramatically. "Do you know how many people have worked here for years and never received a single personal gesture from Levi?" Trish sighed. "Amanda, no, seriously. She once forgot the birthday of her own vice president." Trish laughed despite herself. The conversation ended when the office suddenly became quiet. Everyone straightened. Everyone looked busy. Levi had arrived. As always, her presence changed the atmosphere instantly. She walked through the department without looking at anyone. At least that was what everyone assumed. Trish noticed something different. For a brief second, Levi's eyes landed on her. Only for a moment, then she continued walking. Yet somehow that brief glance left Trish strangely unsettled. Around 10 in the morning, Trish received an email from Levi Statham. Her heart nearly stopped. The subject line was simple: executive meeting, 11 a.m. That was all. No explanation, no details, just a direct order. Trish immediately wondered if she had made a mistake. Perhaps Levi had discovered an error. Perhaps she was being reprimanded. Perhaps, relax, Amanda said. You look like you're attending your own execution. It feels like it. At 11 sharp, Trish entered the executive conference room. The room was enormous. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Manhattan. Several senior executives sat around the table, and at the head sat Levi. Cold, elegant, untouchable. The moment Trish entered, everyone looked at her. She felt completely out of place. Levi motioned toward an empty seat. "Sit." Trish obeyed. The meeting began. Within minutes, she realized something unusual. The discussion involved a major development project worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Normally, someone at her level would never attend. Yet here she was. Several times, Levi directly asked for her opinion. Not the executives, not the directors. Trish's. At first, she answered cautiously, then more confidently. Eventually, she forgot to be nervous. She focused entirely on solving problems. Levi listened carefully to every suggestion. The executives noticed, and they were not the only ones. After the meeting ended, one executive remained behind. His name was Richard Wells. He had worked with Levi for nearly 10 years. As the room emptied, Richard raised an eyebrow. "You seem interested in Miss Davis." Levi continued reviewing documents. "I'm interested in competent employees." Richard smirked. "Of course." Levi looked up. "Is there a problem?" "No," Richard chuckled. "Just interesting." Levi returned to her paperwork. Yet, after Richard left, she found herself staring at the chair Trish had occupied. Interesting. That was one word for it. Over the next month, Levi assigned Trish to increasingly important projects. At first, the office assumed it was temporary. Then they realized it wasn't. Trish attended executive meetings. Trish accompanied Levi during client presentations. Trish was invited into discussions usually reserved for senior leadership. Naturally, rumors exploded. Some employees became jealous. Others became curious. A few became openly hostile. One afternoon, Trish overheard two co-workers talking. She must be someone's relative. No way. Then why does the CEO keep choosing her? Maybe she's secretly dating someone important. Trish quietly walked away before hearing more. The comments bothered her, because deep down, she knew she had earned every opportunity. Yet she couldn't deny the obvious. Levi treated her differently. The question was why? Several days later, Levi and Trish travelled to Boston for a business presentation. The flight was short, the meeting was important, and Trish was nervous. As they sat in the private conference room before meeting investors, she reviewed her notes repeatedly. Levi watched from across the table. Finally, she spoke. "You're prepared?" Trish looked up. "I don't feel prepared. You know the project better than anyone." "What if I make a mistake?" Levi's expression softened slightly. "A rare occurrence." "Then you'll correct it." Trish blinked. Levi continued. "Confidence isn't believing you'll never fail. It's knowing you'll recover if you do." The words surprised her because they sounded less like instructions and more like encouragement. For the first time, Trish smiled, a genuine smile. The sight caught Levi completely off guard. Something warm settled in her chest, something dangerous. The presentation was a massive success. The investors loved the proposal, contracts were signed, millions of dollars were secured. The team celebrated during dinner that evening. Several executives joined them. The atmosphere was relaxed. For once, Levi even appeared approachable. As conversations flowed, Trish laughed at a joke one of the executives made. The sound immediately drew Levi's attention. She found herself watching. Again and again. Every smile, every laugh, every animated gesture. Richard noticed immediately. Of course he did. "You've been staring at her all night." Levi nearly choked on her wine. "I have not." Richard grinned. "You absolutely have." Levi shot him a warning look. Richard raised both hands. "Fine." But he was smiling far too much. Later that evening, after dinner ended, Trish decided to walk through the city before returning to the hotel. Boston's streets glowed beneath golden lights. The evening air felt refreshing. She enjoyed the quiet. Until she noticed someone beside her, Levi. The CEO walked calmly at her side, no bodyguards, no assistants, no executives, just them. For several minutes, neither spoke. Surprisingly, the silence felt comfortable. Eventually, Trish smiled. "You know everyone is terrified of you." Levi sighed. "So I've heard." "It's true," Levi looked amused. "And you?" "Me? Are you terrified?" Trish considered the question. At one time, the answer would have been yes. Now, not exactly. "No," Levi raised an eyebrow. "Why not?" Trish smiled. "Because I've seen you leave your blazer on a sleeping employee." For the first time since she'd met her, Trish heard Levi laugh. A real laugh. Soft and beautiful, completely unexpected. The sound left Trish momentarily speechless. Neither woman realized how close they had become while walking, nor how neither seemed eager for the evening to end. Back in New York, life returned to normal. Or at least it appeared to. Because beneath the surface, something was changing. Slowly. Dangerously. Levi found herself searching for Trish during meetings, wondering whether she had eaten lunch, looking for excuses to call her office. Meanwhile, Trish found herself anticipating every interaction, every conversation, every unexpected smile. Neither woman understood what was happening, but everyone else was beginning to notice. Especially Richard. Especially Amanda. And especially the jealous executive manager named Victoria Hayes. Because Victoria had spent years trying to get Levi's attention. Years. And suddenly one employee from a small town had accomplished what nobody else could, without even trying. As Victoria watched Levi and Trish leave another meeting together, her expression darkened. For the first time, trouble was coming. And neither Levi nor Trish saw it yet. But very soon, their growing connection would be tested. The rumors inside Statham Holdings had become impossible to ignore. Every department had something to say. Every employee had a theory, and somehow every theory involved Levi Statham and Trish Davis. Neither woman addressed the gossip. But that didn't stop people from talking, especially Victoria Hayes. Victoria had worked at Statham Holdings for 7 years. She was intelligent, ambitious, and one of the company's top executives. For years, she had admired Levi. Perhaps admired wasn't the right word. Victoria had wanted Levi's attention, wanted her respect, wanted to be the one standing beside her. Instead, a project manager from a small town had somehow become the centre of Levi's world. And Victoria hated it. The opportunity arrived sooner than she expected. A major presentation was approaching, one capable of attracting international investors. Victoria was responsible for preparing part of the proposal, and she saw a chance to make Trish look incompetent. A small change, a hidden adjustment, just enough to create confusion during the presentation. No one would suspect sabotage. Everyone would blame Trish. The presentation began smoothly. Executives filled the conference room. Investors watched from around the world through video conference. Levi sat at the head of the table. Trish stood confidently before the large screen. She had rehearsed everything, yet halfway through the presentation she noticed something wrong. One of the financial projections had changed. The numbers weren't hers. For a brief moment, panic flashed through her. The room waited. Investors watched. Victoria secretly smiled, but Trish refused to freeze. Instead, she calmly closed the slide. "Those figures are incorrect." The room immediately became silent. Several executives looked shocked. Trish continued, "The actual numbers are here." She pulled up her backup files. Within seconds, she corrected the presentation and continued flawlessly. The investors never noticed the problem. The meeting ended successfully. The deal moved forward. And Victoria's plan failed completely. Afterward, Levi called for a private meeting. Victoria entered confidently. 5 minutes later, she wished she hadn't. Levi sat behind her desk. Cold, expressionless, dangerous. "Would you like to explain why the financial projections were altered?" Victoria froze. Levi already knew. The security logs had revealed everything. "Levi, Miss Hayes." Levi's voice became icy. "You jeopardized a major project." Victoria looked down. "Yes, I value competence." The CEO stood. "And I value integrity even more." Victoria understood immediately. The conversation lasted less than 10 minutes. By the time she left the office, everyone knew she had been removed from the project. No one knew why, except Levi and Victoria. Later that evening, Trish entered Levi's office. "You wanted to see me?" Levi nodded. "Close the door," Trish obeyed. The CEO stood near the windows overlooking Manhattan. The city lights sparkled below. Beautiful, almost as beautiful as the woman standing before them. Levi handed her a folder. The project was approved. Trish smiled. "Really?" "Yes." The happiness on Trish's face made something warm spread through Levi's chest, a feeling she was beginning to recognize. And fear, because she had never felt it before, not like this, not for anyone. "You did well today," Levi said quietly. Trish laughed softly. "I nearly had a heart attack." "You recovered." "Only because I had backups." Levi smiled, a genuine smile, rare enough to be considered a miracle. The sight left Trish momentarily speechless. Neither noticed how close they had moved. Or perhaps both noticed. Neither stepped away. The following week brought another challenge. A snowstorm hit New York. Flights were cancelled, roads closed. Businesses delayed operations. Unfortunately, Levi and Trish were stranded in Chicago after meeting potential investors. Every hotel in the city was nearly full. Only one room remained available. One room. 2 beds. The receptionist looked apologetic. "It's all we have." Trish nearly died from embarrassment. Levi remained calm. "We'll take it." The room was luxurious. Large, elegant, and thankfully equipped with 2 separate beds. Even so, Trish felt nervous. The thought of sharing a room with her boss seemed unreal. Meanwhile, Levi appeared strangely distracted. Neither woman mentioned it. Dinner arrived, conversations followed. For the first time, they discussed topics unrelated to work, family, dreams, childhood memories, and favorite movies, favorite foods. Hours passed. Without realizing it, they laughed together. A lot. And for perhaps the first time in years, Levi genuinely enjoyed herself. Later that night, a thunderstorm joined the snowstorm. A loud crash echoed outside. Moments later, the hotel lights flickered, then disappeared. Darkness. Complete darkness. Trish jumped. Levi couldn't help laughing. "You're afraid of storms?" "A little." "A little?" Another thunderclap sounded. Trish moved closer instinctively. Levi smiled. "A lot, then." The emergency lights activated moments later, dim enough to illuminate the room. Trish finally realized how close she was standing. Very close. Close enough to see every detail of Levi's face. Close enough to hear her breathing. Neither moved. The room suddenly felt smaller. The silence felt heavier. Something had changed. Something neither could ignore anymore. Slowly, Levi reached up and brushed a loose strand of hair behind Trish's ear. A simple gesture, yet it felt intimate, dangerously intimate. Trish's heartbeat accelerated. Levi's did too. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. Then Trish whispered, "Why do you always look at me?" Levi froze. The question had finally been asked, and she no longer wanted to lie. "Because I can't help it." Trish's breath caught. Levi stepped closer. "So what happens now?" Trish asked softly. Levi didn't answer immediately. Instead, she gently cupped Trish's cheek, giving her every opportunity to step away. Trish didn't. Their eyes met. Then Levi leaned forward and kissed her, softly, tenderly. The kiss lasted only a few seconds. Yet it changed everything. When they finally pulled apart, neither woman spoke. Neither wanted to ruin the moment. Instead, they simply smiled. The kind of smiles people wear when something wonderful finally happens. That night, they remained awake for hours talking. No walls, no titles, no CEO, no employee, just Levi and Trish. 2 women discovering feelings they could no longer deny. Eventually, exhaustion won. They settled into their separate beds. But for the first time since meeting each other, both fell asleep smiling. And neither realized that returning to New York would bring a much bigger challenge. Because someone had secretly photographed them together in Chicago. And by morning, those photos would begin spreading online. The disaster began before sunrise. Levi woke to dozens of notifications on her phone. Emails, messages, calls from executives, calls from board members, calls from people she hadn't spoken to in years. Immediately she knew something was wrong. Very wrong. Sitting up in bed, she opened the first message. Her expression hardened. A photograph filled the screen. It showed Levi and Trish walking together through downtown Chicago. Another photo showed them sharing dinner. A third showed them standing close outside their hotel. The pictures weren't inappropriate, but they told a story. A story people would happily invent details for. Within hours, the photos had spread online. Business blogs, social media, industry news sites, everyone was talking. The powerful CEO of Statham Holdings and her rising employee. Across the city, Trish was experiencing the same nightmare. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. Amanda had called 12 times. When Trish finally answered, Amanda nearly screamed, "You and Levi are everywhere." "I noticed. What are you going to do?" Trish stared at the photos. Most people would assume the worst. Many already had. The comments online were brutal. Some accused her of using Levi. Others claimed she was receiving favoritism. Years of hard work suddenly seemed invisible. And it hurt. Far more than she expected. At company headquarters, the atmosphere was tense. Employees whispered openly. Executives exchanged nervous looks. The board of directors demanded an emergency meeting. Levi entered the boardroom without showing a trace of emotion. Inside sat 12 powerful individuals, people who controlled the future of the company. One director spoke first. "Levi, we need clarification." Levi remained calm. "About what specifically?" "The employee." Of course, Trish had become the employee. Another director leaned forward. The public perception could damage the company. Levi's eyes narrowed. "Trish Davis has increased company profits by millions. That isn't the point." "No." Levi's voice became colder. "It is exactly the point." Silence followed. The board members exchanged glances. For the first time, many realized how protective Levi sounded. And Levi realized it too. After the meeting, she immediately searched for Trish. She found her in a quiet conference room, alone, looking exhausted. The moment Trish saw her, she attempted a smile. It didn't reach her eyes. Levi closed the door behind her. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Trish finally broke. "This is my fault." "No." "It is." "No." Levi stepped closer, her voice softened. "You did nothing wrong." Trish laughed bitterly. "Everyone thinks I slept my way into promotions." The words visibly angered Levi, more than they should have. "Anyone who believes that doesn't know you." "But they believe it." Levi looked at her carefully, seeing the hurt she was trying so hard to hide. Without thinking, she reached for Trish's hand. The contact immediately eased some of the tension. "You earned everything." Trish looked up, their eyes met, and suddenly none of the rumors mattered. Not for that moment, not while they stood together. Levi gently brushed her thumb across Trish's knuckles. A small gesture, yet it felt comforting, safe. Exactly what Trish needed. Unfortunately, the world wasn't finished with them. That evening, another article appeared online, this one openly questioning whether Trish should remain employed. The board scheduled another meeting. Investors demanded explanations. Reporters gathered outside headquarters. The pressure intensified. For the first time in years, Levi felt helpless. She could solve billion-dollar problems, negotiate impossible contracts, outmaneuver competitors, but she couldn't protect Trish from public judgment. And that realization hurt. Late that night, Trish remained in the office. Everyone else had gone home. The city lights illuminated the empty floor. She sat alone, staring at her computer. Trying to work, trying not to cry. A familiar voice interrupted her thoughts. "You should go home." Levi stood nearby, still wearing her suit, still looking perfect despite the chaos. Trish sighed. "I don't want to." Levi sat across from her. A rare occurrence. The CEO never sat with employees. Yet here she was. "I know." For several moments they simply sat together. No work, no business. Just silence. Comfortable silence. The kind shared by people who trusted each other. Eventually Levi spoke. "When I started this company, people doubted me too." Trish looked surprised. "You?" Levi nodded. "They said I was too young." She smiled faintly. "Then they said I was too ambitious." "What happened?" "I proved them wrong." Trish laughed softly. "Of course you did." Levi found herself smiling too. God, she loved hearing Trish laugh. The realization struck her unexpectedly. Not attraction, not admiration. Love, real love, the kind that frightened people, the kind that changed lives, and suddenly she knew she couldn't ignore it anymore. The next week brought another business trip, this time to California. The board practically insisted that separate accommodations be arranged. Levi agreed immediately, at least publicly. Yet fate had other plans. A reservation error left only one luxury suite available. The hotel staff apologized repeatedly. Trish nearly laughed at the absurdity. Levi simply accepted the situation. Neither woman complained. That evening they sat together on the suite's balcony, overlooking the ocean. The sunset painted the sky with shades of gold and pink. beautiful, peaceful, a rare break from the storm surrounding them. Trish leaned against the railing. I miss when things were simple. Levi stood beside her. They were never simple, Trish smiled. Fair point. The ocean breeze played with her hair. Levi found herself watching. Again. Always watching. As if she could never look away. Finally Trish turned toward her and caught her staring. Neither looked away. Neither wanted to. The distance between them slowly disappeared. Neither knew who moved first. Perhaps both did. Levi gently touched Trish's cheek. The world seemed to pause. The ocean, the sunset, the city. Everything faded, leaving only them. Then Levi kissed her. Softly, tenderly, a kiss filled with affection rather than urgency. A kiss that promised something deeper. When they pulled apart, both were smiling, and for the first time, neither looked afraid. That night they remained awake, talking for hours, sharing dreams, fears, stories they had never told anyone else. Eventually exhaustion caught up to them. The suite contained multiple sleeping areas, yet neither seemed eager to end the conversation. Finally, Trish laughed. "We should probably sleep." "Probably." Neither moved. Both laughed. Eventually they settled on the large couch together beneath a blanket while continuing their conversation. At some point words became quieter, then slower, until neither realized they had fallen asleep. Trish's head rested against Levi's shoulder. Levi's arm remained protectively around her. No passion, no urgency, just comfort, just trust. Just two women who had finally stopped pretending they meant nothing to each other. And for the first time in weeks, both slept peacefully. Neither knew that back in New York, the board was preparing a decision that could force Levi to choose her position as CEO or the woman she had fallen in love with. The board meeting began at 9 in the morning. By 9:15, Levi Statham knew exactly what they wanted. One of the directors folded his hands on the table. "We need this distraction to end." Levi sat silently. "The company is under pressure." Another director spoke. "Investors are asking questions." A third director sighed. "The solution is simple." Levi already knew what was coming. Miss Davis should be reassigned. Silence. The words hung heavily inside the room. Then came the part Levi hated most. "If your relationship continues, it may compromise your position as CEO." The threat wasn't subtle. Several directors shifted uncomfortably. Others watched carefully, waiting. Levi slowly stood. Every eye followed her. For years she had dedicated her life to Statham Holdings, built it from almost nothing. Sacrificed friendships, relationships, entire pieces of herself, everything for the company, and now they expected her to sacrifice Trish too. Levi's expression remained calm, but her voice carried unmistakable certainty. "No." The room froze. One director frowned. "No." Levi looked directly at him. "No." The single word felt powerful. Final. The directors exchanged nervous glances. For the first time they realized Levi wasn't negotiating. She had already made her decision. Meanwhile, Trish sat in her office, unaware of the conversation taking place upstairs. Her focus remained on work, or at least she tried to focus. The previous night kept replaying inside her mind. The balcony, the ocean, the kiss, the way Levi had looked at her. As if she were the most important person in the world, the memory made her smile despite herself. Then her phone rang. Amanda. "Turn on the news." "What?" "Now." Trish immediately opened a live stream. A press conference was beginning. At company headquarters. Levi stood behind a podium. Hundreds of reporters filled the room. The board members sat nearby. Everyone looked tense, except Levi. She looked completely composed. The conference began with questions about company performance, new projects, investments, future plans. Then someone finally asked the question everyone wanted answered. "Miss Statham, are the rumors about you and employee Trish Davis true?" The room became silent. Cameras focused on Levi. Reporters leaned forward. The board members looked terrified. Levi didn't hesitate. Yes. The room exploded. Questions erupted from every direction. Levi raised her hand. Instant silence followed. As CEO, I have always valued honesty. Her gaze remained steady. Trish Davis is one of the most talented professionals I have ever worked with. The cameras flashed continuously. Levi continued. Her achievements belong to her. Her success belongs to her. And the idea that she earned opportunities because of me is false. Every word carried conviction. Every word protected Trish. Then Levi said the one thing nobody expected. The truth is much simpler. The room waited. Levi smiled, a genuine smile, rare, beautiful, unmistakably in love. I fell in love with her. Gasps filled the room. Across the city, Trish's eyes widened. Amanda screamed. The internet practically exploded, but Levi wasn't finished. I will not apologize for respecting her. I will not apologize for admiring her. And I will never apologize for loving her. For the first time in her life, Levi Statham looked completely free. By lunchtime, the story dominated every major news outlet. Support poured in from employees, clients, partners, friends, even investors. To everyone's surprise, public opinion shifted dramatically. People admired Levi's honesty. More importantly, they admired the way she defended Trish. The board quickly realized they had underestimated both women. Trying to separate them would create even greater backlash. By evening, the pressure disappeared. The crisis was over. That night, Levi stood outside Trish's apartment. For the first time in years, she felt nervous, truly nervous. The door opened. Trish appeared. The moment their eyes met, neither spoke. Neither needed to. Trish stepped forward. Levi met her halfway, and they embraced tightly, as if neither wanted to let go. The past few months, the rumors, the fear, the uncertainty, everything seemed to disappear, leaving only relief and love. When they finally pulled apart, Trish laughed softly. You really told the entire world, Levi smiled. They asked. Trish shook her head. You are impossible. Probably. They both laughed. Then Trish gently cupped Levi's face and kissed her. A slow, affectionate kiss. One filled with happiness, with gratitude, with promises neither needed to speak aloud. Months passed. For the first time, Levi allowed herself to have a life outside work. She still led the company, still dominated board meetings, still terrified competitors. But now she smiled more, laughed more, lived more. The reason was simple. Trish. Meanwhile, Trish continued thriving professionally. Her reputation grew stronger than ever. No one questioned her abilities anymore. Her work spoke for itself, and Levi never treated her differently. If anything, she became stricter, much to Trish's annoyance and amusement. 1 year later, Levi invited Trish to the rooftop garden of the building where they first met. The city sparkled beneath the night sky. A soft breeze drifted through the flowers. Everything felt perfect, suspiciously perfect. Trish narrowed her eyes. What are you planning? Levi laughed. I have no idea what you're talking about. Liar! Levi reached into her pocket. Immediately Trish's heart stopped. The small velvet box appeared, and suddenly nothing else mattered. Not the city, not the lights, not even breathing. Levi stepped closer. Her usually confident voice softened. Before you, I thought success was everything. Trish felt tears forming. Levi continued. You taught me there are things far more important. Her eyes shone with emotion. You taught me how to be happy. The box opened. A beautiful ring reflected the city lights. Trish Davis. Levi smiled, the same smile that had slowly become Trish's favorite thing in the world. Will you marry me? Tears escaped immediately. Trish laughed through them. That took you long enough. Levi laughed too. So that's a yes? Yes. Definitely yes. Levi slipped the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into her arms. The kiss that followed wasn't dramatic, wasn't rushed. It was simply perfect, because it belonged to two women who had fought for each other, chosen each other, loved each other, and would continue choosing each other every day. 2 years later, the wedding photographs decorated their home. Awards filled Levi's office. New company achievements continued making headlines. Life remained busy, but every evening ended the same way. Levi returning home, Trish waiting for her, dinner together, laughter, conversations. Love. The kind of love neither woman had expected to find, yet somehow found anyway. And whenever employees asked how the intimidating CEO had finally fallen in love, Levi always gave the same answer. Slowly. One smile at a time. One conversation at a time, until one day she realized she never wanted to imagine a future without Trish Davis in it. And that was how the boss who frightened everyone ended up falling hopelessly in love. 3 years after their wedding, the media still called Levi Statham one of the most powerful CEOs in America. Business magazines featured her on their covers. Competitors feared her. Investors trusted her. Employees respected her. None of that mattered at 6 o'clock on a Friday evening, because right now, Levi was losing an argument to a golden retriever. Move. The dog wagged its tail. Levi sighed. The dog remained sprawled across the couch, completely refusing to cooperate. You are aware I own several companies, correct? The dog yawned. Levi narrowed her eyes. You should be more impressed. The front door suddenly opened. A familiar laugh filled the apartment. Trish stepped inside carrying grocery bags. Immediately the golden retriever jumped off the couch and rushed toward her. Traitor, complete traitor. Welcome home, Sonny, Trish said while scratching behind the dog's ears. Levi folded her arms. Interesting, Trish smiled. What? The dog listens to you. Because I'm nice, Levi gasped dramatically. I am nice. Trish laughed so hard she nearly dropped the groceries. Years later, that sound still had the power to brighten Levi's entire day. Married life was not what either woman expected. It was better, much better. There were no dramatic scandals, no jealous executives, no boardroom battles, just ordinary moments. And somehow those moments became their favourites. Saturday mornings, movie nights, cooking disasters, walking sunny through Central Park, falling asleep together after exhausting days. The simple things, the important things, the things neither had appreciated before meeting each other. One rainy Sunday afternoon, Trish sat curled up on the couch reading. Levi rested beside her while reviewing company reports. Everything was peaceful, until Levi suddenly closed her laptop. Trish immediately became suspicious. What happened? Nothing. Levi. The CEO looked guilty, which was alarming. Very alarming. Trish lowered her book. What did you do? Levi hesitated. That never happened. Now Trish was terrified. Finally, Levi stood. Come with me. No. Trish. Absolutely not, Levi laughed. Trust me. Those words usually led to trouble, but Trish followed anyway. The elevator carried them to the building's private rooftop. The moment the doors opened, Trish froze. The entire rooftop had been transformed. Flowers, lights, lanterns, music, everything looked beautiful. Her eyes widened. Levi. Levi suddenly looked nervous. The sight was so rare that Trish almost forgot the surprise. I know our anniversary isn't until next month. Trish listened quietly. But 3 years ago today was the first time I realized I loved you. Tears immediately filled Trish's eyes. Levi smiled softly. It was after that presentation. The one where you corrected the financial projections. Trish laughed. The disaster presentation? The brilliant presentation. You remember that? Levi looked offended. I remember everything, which was true. She remembered every important moment, every first, every milestone, every memory involving Trish, because all her favourite memories involved Trish. They spent the evening beneath the city lights. talking, laughing, reminiscing. Eventually the conversation turned serious. Trish rested her head on Levi's shoulder. "Do you ever regret it?" Levi frowned. "Regret what?" "Everything. The board, the scandal, the headlines, the pressure." Levi didn't even need a second to think. "No." The answer came immediately, without hesitation, without doubt. Trish looked up. Levi gently brushed her hair aside, then smiled. "Choosing you was the easiest decision I have ever made." The words stole Trish's breath. Even after all these years, even after marriage, Levi still had that effect on her. The city stretched endlessly below them, lights shining in every direction, cars moving through busy streets, people living countless different lives, and somewhere among millions of people, two women had somehow found each other, against all odds, against expectations, against every obstacle. Levi wrapped an arm around Trish. Trish settled closer, comfortable, safe, home, not because of the apartment, not because of the city, not because of success. Home was the person beside them, the person they chose every single day, the person they loved, the person they could no longer imagine living without. As the evening sky darkened above Manhattan, Levi pressed a gentle kiss against Trish's forehead. Trish smiled. "Still falling in love with me, boss?" Levi laughed, then answered honestly, "Every day. And somehow after all these years, that was still true."